Hello and welcome to my almost redundant exercise shed. Haven't been in here except very briefly for just over 3 weeks, and in that time I've only done the odd 20 minutes of any exercise at all, which has been absolutely awful. I'm the kind of person who needs to exercise to feel good. Today I'm going to do a whole body compound lift session, nice and easy, probably just one set each, just to get things moving again, and then I'll lift properly towards the end of the week. Last year I didn't really achieve what I wanted to. I got 10 kilos on the squat PR. I stopped deadlifting because an injury was giving me a hard time. I improved a bit at pull-ups but didn't do what I'd like to, and bench press, arguably I'd already lifted my best PR of the year, although it was a bit messier. So I've got a lot of work to do, and let's see what I can do better this year. As I briefly mentioned in a previous video, in which I did nothing at all except complain, somebody had an accident, somebody who's very close to me, and it's changed the way my life goes for a while. This is the first day I've managed to get out here to do anything at all. Got to look at the bright side on these things. 3 weeks, almost everything's healed. Still a little bit of, not knee pain, but my knees are susceptible. I had better squat in just the right position, otherwise I can have an injury. I think that's true of most people when they reach their 50s, unless they've really looked after themselves. I used to ride mountain bikes badly sometimes, and didn't take as much care as I could have of my body. So I might be in worse shape than the average 50-year-old, but still, when you get to your 50s, your knees aren't going to be all that good anymore. Today I'm just going to do, because I'm getting back into the lifting, try to be careful, going to do a session of squat, bench press, pull downs, deadlift, and probably pectoral clench as well at the end. I call that a pectoral clench. Other people call it various things. Pectoral clench seems pretty good because you're clenching using your pectorals, and that's because I feel weak, skinny and terrible, and I've got to get a blood pumping around, and I must get some garlic before I get too far into it. I tend to call this a blood flow session, and I would often just do 30 of each and maybe push a bit harder. I think 35 is the most. I feel it with just the bar on the squat. I feel it at 35 and 27 kilos on the bench press, no doubt about that. Somebody who's quite a bit fitter probably won't. Today, who knows? Let's see what happens. I'm sure I'm weaker, and when I did a couple of rounds at the heavy bag earlier, I had the feeling I'm a bit less fit from doing nothing for those 3 weeks, but we'll see. I won't keep the microphone on because there'll be a lot of grunting and groaning, and you don't want to hear that. Okay. That's a bad habit, really, failing to use both legs when raising the bar, when I'm racking it, because it's so light, and it's not the sort of habit you should get used to, because bad habits come out when you've got heavier weight. Right, I haven't squatted a single thing for over 3 weeks. Here goes. I can feel it at 20. Oh, I felt that. When I was at about 15, wondered if I might want to stop at 20. Out of breath, would be anyway, but I've had a cold too, right on the chest. I did 35. It would have been nice to do 40, but I've done what I usually would. Wasn't easy, The last 5 really hurt. Had to have a little pause before them. But if I had to stop at 15, then I'd have been upset. Okay, I'm going to get some garlic and then we'll be back to bench press. That feels so good. Just been up to the house to get some cloves of garlic. I'd like to be somebody who can do 35 bar squats and not even feel it, but I'm not. I can feel that and I feel like I've just woken my body up again. It's not just about exertion. It's about pumping blood around. I feel as if I've just plunged a hand deep inside, torn out something black and nasty that shouldn't be there and thrown it away. By the time I've done this, I'm probably going to be euphoric. It does that to you. That's what I find. It's why I do these blood flow sessions. It's not going to build any muscle. It just makes you feel good. Time for the bench presses. I'll speed it up. I made a stupid error. I normally keep my bike locked to this anvil, and when I take it out the shed so I can use it, I need to put this thick D-lock ring down, and if I don't, the bar bangs on it, and that's really annoying. That was 35. Funny as it sometimes goes, when I'm fitter, I think I don't feel it until 25 or so, but I felt that about 15. Now, what am I going to do this year differently? Most of last year I was trying to move as much weight as I could, even if it was sets of 3. Didn't make as much progress with my squat working weight of 120 kilos and my bench press working weight of 87. I'd like to have got to the point where I do 3 times 5 without thinking about it, but I didn't. So I was probably pushing a bit hard. One way to find out, do it differently. This year, for at least half of the year, I'm going to try 3 sets of 7 as my main working weight. That's usually with a couple of sets of warming up. At one point I was doing 5 sets of warming up on the way up. Then I was having trouble with sets of 120 and 87, so I reduced the warming up, and I think that was okay. Lots of different ways people go about these things. But this year, sets of 7. Now I've done 3 times 7 at 100 kilos. Don't think I'll be able to at the moment, so should be later this week if I keep my schedule clear. I'll probably start with squatting 3 times 7 at 90. Over here, I've done 10 with my legs raised with 67 kilos. So do I try? I think I'll start with 67 bench press, 90 squat, and then go up for 77 and 100 quickly as I can. Right, time for some pull downs. 27 kilos. Hardly worth it, is it? And here it goes. Hopefully with all the speeding up, it won't be too long a video. That's easier than the other 2. It took a bit of grit and determination to do the 35 on the squat and the bench press. That's nothing. Wonder how many I'll do if I really tried, but it's okay. Just getting warm. I'm really just getting ready for later in the week, see how quickly I recover. My legs will ache, even though it's just 1 set of squats. I'll feel a little bit tomorrow. And because of my schedule, there's a lot to do. oh, there's a hell of a lot to do. There's people helping, but no point in moaning very much. But I've had a hard 3 weeks. And I keep meaning to make a video about exercise, depression and reward systems, a vital bit. The reason I'm not rushing it is because I don't want to mess it up. I've messed up some videos, thinking of making a new version of some of my old ones, a shorter video, gets to the point a bit more. One like this is a bit different. Really here, I'm just asking you to do me a favour and I suppose help me motivate myself to exercise as I'm making the videos. So not only now do you listen to me ramble at length, but now you're helping me too. Thank you. And time for the next one. I'd like to lift properly on Thursday, but it depends on getting a few things out of the way. Right. Right, 35. Even I'm not weak enough to deadlift with 20 kilos, but I'll take those 25s off the end and do it with 70. And I'll be back in a minute. Right, 70 kilos. This is such a tight shed. Have to move things around a lot for different exercises. I've actually thought if I could ever get his attention, he sometimes makes videos with people who aren't too well known. See if somebody like Eddie Hall could fit in here. The potentially smallest complete gym in the world. I don't think you could get it much tighter than this. Should you know Eddie Hall? You probably don't. I've also thought I'd like to try to get him to do a food challenge. He does a few of those. And I've got some swords I'd like to fill up with pork and put on the barbecue. So the idea is we'll see if Eddie Hall can handle the Triple M pork sword. I'd like to email him one day, see if it gets his attention, but I'm sure people like him get strings of emails and they're not likely to notice it. Who knows? Maybe one day he'll be bored and have a lack of subjects to make videos about. I won't do 35 here. I bet I'll feel it, even though it's only 70 kilos. I've done 10 at 120 without too much difficulty. But I've got a feeling I'm going to feel this. I'll be surprised if I do more than 20, and that might be pushing it. Of course, with such a low weight, not worrying too much, but I want to get out of my old habit of having the legs too straight. So I'll start like this, and up a bit, and let's see. 1. 15. Yep, I can feel it. Oof. Oh, sore hamstrings, but it's okay. Well, I'm happy enough with 20. I could definitely feel that. Wouldn't have gone beyond 25. I don't think I possibly could have. Okay, squat 35. Bench press 35. Pull down each way 35. Deadlift 70 and 20. I wouldn't normally have pectoral clench on here, but like I said, I've been feeling as if I'm losing weight terribly. I've lost easily 9 pounds, and I just want to I want to just make sure I'm giving the pectorals a bit of attention. Right, 1. That's really easy. Oh, I can feel that. I might have done a couple more, but I can feel it. That's enough. I'm going to put the machine back as it ought to be for my next session. Funny thing about cable machines, especially these multi-gym ones, where they're meant to do a lot of things imperfectly, and you have these hooks to secure these cables, but if you let one go, it will find your eyeball every time. Not sometimes, it won't get you in the ear, it won't get you on the forehead, it will find your eyeball. And therefore, I use these big clips. Well, to be honest with you, that feels brilliant. My body needed that really badly. And it's not a good idea when you make YouTube videos to talk about personal things very much, so I won't. But things have been pretty grim, and that helps. Quick note about what's coming up. I want to get onto the next punch fundamentals video, and I want to do some more HEMA videos, HEMA fundamentals, kick fundamentals. People who don't like my videos will really hate that one. I've had some funny comments on those. People trying to be sarcastic sometimes. One person asking me if I've ever thought of training in martial arts. Bloody half-wit. Given his poor grammar, I was probably first in the dojo long before he was born. I'm not an expert at anything, never professed to be. But I've trained a lot. And most of all, I know what I was like. I trained in Shotokan, a little bit of Kung Fu, primarily up until the first time I went to train in Muay Thai club, long gone now unfortunately, about 6 miles down the road. Been to another one that way and another one that way, there's a few around here. And I only knew what I had learned from Shotokan, and I wasn't used to putting in a hook or an uppercut, a little bit with elbows. And on my first session, when I was trying to do what I now know as a T-push kick, the instructor said, "What are you doing? That's karate." In a way I was pleased. At least I still have a recognisable technique, but there was hardly any guard. I know what I was like then, and I know what I'm like now. I used to have my heavy bag in here before I used weights, with an old metal punch bag stand. Didn't know what to do with it. I'd kick a little bit and then just punch, right. I used to have a list of combinations up on the wall, wonder if they're still there somewhere. And I needed that because I didn't know what to do. And I wasn't moving it very hard. I know how hard I used to punch. And I had some compliments from people over the year, a little bit from somebody I trained with who was an experienced kickboxer. Exactly what that means depends on what organisation you're dealing with. He had a black belt. He helped inspire me to get on to training in Muay Thai. You know, as I say, I'm not telling anyone I'm an expert martial artist. There aren't many people who train full time who are professional in any sense who I could beat, unless they're much lighter than me, maybe not even then. But I know what I can do compared to somebody who hasn't trained well and truly, and I know how I've progressed since I've been training more seriously. And there's a big difference. You get some silly comments, one person, "You've got no movement." Well, what a ridiculous thing to say. Movement isn't something you have or get, move is something you do. But wait and hear it. This was when I made a video where I had to relocate to a tree that I've got just outside here, and I carried a heavy bag down, and it was strapped to the tree with a bit of rope, and I only put a couple of punches in just to say, well, this is a snap, here's a push. That's it. And based on that, I've got no movement. Well, the thing is, I'm not somebody who adopts a dancing stance when fighting anyway. Some people do and they're very successful, and some people don't and they're also very successful. I dislike the idea quite a lot of pushing in one direction, even for a fraction of a second, and then needing to go into a different direction, and you've got to wait until you finish that movement. I'm talking about jumping a little bit. Some people exaggerate it perhaps to effect. Saw one of Tony Jeffries' videos where he was, and he said in the video, I don't remember the exact details, but he said, no, I'm not saying you should do this, going a bit far. But there's a lot of ways to move into an attack that mean you haven't got to do this back and forth. And there's a problem sometimes with this. Obviously, somebody like Tyson did it brilliantly. I won't try to imitate it. But you might be moving back. If you go through a quick movement like that, you might be moving back at the wrong time. And obviously worked very well. I think he was so well practiced in it that he knew exactly how to do it at the right time. Whereas if you're somebody far less experienced and professional and you decide you're just going to do that before every move, and I've seen people talking about this, then you might not time it right and you might put your head straight into a cross. I was talking about that a bit with one of my fight training equipment fighting back videos, and saying how it's all very well moving away, but if you try to, if one's coming round, you see a punch will come normally directly at you, and you do that, you slipped it. But if something's coming round towards you, as a kick would be, and an elbow might, perhaps an arm thrown in a certain way, then doing this is no good if it's coming for you like that. So what I'm trying to say is that if you look at somebody and you think that they're stationary, especially around a bag, that might not be what they would do if they had somebody throwing punches at them. And you could have a look at some of my videos with implements attached to the punch bag and see I move a lot to avoid that thing. You have to. And with that in mind, last thing I'll say in this video about what's coming up, or falling out of the bag rather. And we have a pack of steel carabiners. Is that right? Carabiners? Don't know. I should watch Magnus Mitbo more. And a pack of M6 eye bolts and 30 feet of 4mm steel chain. And behind this shed there's a nice stack of tyres and some big wooden stakes. And we'll need to see what we can do with this, and a few swivel joints to further improvise things at the punch bag to make it a little bit more interesting and perhaps a little bit more dangerous. I'm tremendously thankful because despite my absence, I haven't lost followers and I've gained a few. If you followed me in this time, thank you, because at some bad moments, it just made me think I'll still be able to get back to this and I will get subscribers, and it just made me feel better. If I had lost half of my followers during the low period, I'd have felt pretty bad. Yeah, I would have. But I didn't. So thanks a lot, and I mean that. I say cheers at the end of the video, but thank you. I'm going to need help to keep up motivation, and that's what you're giving to me. That's it for now then. I don't know how long that's been. I'll try and speed it up with editing, and I'm going to go and have a little session at the Bag and Ball. That's it then. I made it today and I feel pretty good now. Garlic pumping round, 3 cloves of that, sort your body out. I get something to eat, have a protein drink. Person that I am helping take care of, she had a good day, a bit more mobile, a little bit of good news. Yeah, cheers. Get through these dark times. We can do it. See you next time.